Evers signing a new law aiming to protect drivers on roadsides. Governor Evers signing that bill to expand the state's move over law. Drivers must now move over or slow down when approaching disabled vehicles. This includes vehicles with hazard lights on, emergency devices, or people just attending to them. Violators face fines of up to $300. Penalties are more severe if a crash or injuries happen. In the last 5 years, 145 people were injured, 5 killed along roadsides in Wisconsin. 73 emergency responders were also struck.